Now this is the type of shit that make you stay in your house. What up everybody, it's Ep4. Let's talk about it. This is season 2, American Crime Story, the assassination of Gianni Versace. Alright y'all, this episode we got more of Andrew's backstory. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to see Versace again, but I guess there's gonna be a couple of episodes before we get to see Versace again. But we here with Andrew, and I guess that's how it goes. When people commit crimes, the murderer becomes more popular than the victim. So this week we got to meet the first 2 people that he murdered, Jeff and Dave. Jeff is his best friend and David is his lover, okay? So let's go ahead and get into it. So at the beginning of the episode, we're in Minneapolis. It's 1997. It's 1 week before Lee Miglin's murder. David is on the phone talking about some news he got, and Andrew comes in and he says, you know, yes, they said yes. And he's like, I'm so happy for you. I was like, Andrew will piss on your cornflakes in a hot minute, okay? David says he just want to apologize for everything he said the other night. You know, he said they said some things they regretted when they got into it. And so Andrew says he doesn't regret anything. He said that should have been your first red flag to know this fool is crazy. He said he don't regret anything he said, so can they just move on? And he said, yeah, we could just move on. So I guess we moving on. To crazy town, yeah. David says he's going to take a shower. Andrew says he's going to go walk the dog. When David gets out the shower, he goes into the living room and he sees that the dog is tied up to the kitchen table. And then the doorbell starts ringing and apparently it's Jeff. Jeff is there. So Andrew asks David to go get Jeff to bring him up because apparently the buzzer doesn't work. You know, the buzzer doesn't let people in the apartment like in most apartments in the city, and that's a true fact. I read an article and said that was actually true, and it was a joke amongst him and his friends that somebody always had to go to the lobby and get the guests. He says, you go down there and get him, and David is like, why you want me to go down there? He was like, it'll give you time to talk about me. And he was like, what? I was like, child, Andrew is off the chain, honey. Andrew, that's that passive aggressive. You ever been with somebody that's passive aggressive and they be like, where you was at? So what you was eating when you was out? Oh, really? Was it good? You be like, what are you talking about? Just say what you gotta say. David goes down to get Jeff. When David gets in the elevator with Jeff, they start talking about, you know, Andrew being weird and Andrew acting different, and yes, he knows about us. Yes, of course he knows, and he says something about, you know, he knows what's going on. So it seemed like David is cheating on Andrew with Jeff. And now they figured out that Andrew knows, and I guess, you know, they both like, okay, because, you know, Andrew is weirdly, he's nice, but he's like really the talented Mr. Ripley ass nigga, okay? Oh, and when they were on the elevator, David does say that Andrew asked him to marry him. He said that, you know, he was his last chance at happiness and he's everything to him, and he was like, I got out of it by saying it's illegal for us to get married. I guess, you know, they're trying to let us know that David and Andrew, you know, David and Andrew really loved each other at one point. You know, he says that this was the love of his life, so they're trying to stress to us the importance without giving us the entire backstory. They finally make it to the room, and when they open the door, Andrew comes at Jeff with a hammer and beats the shit out of him. He don't even get 3 steps in the doorway before Andrew jump on top of him and beat him to death. I mean, beats his ass like he was tenderizing a damn steak, child. I was like, no God chicken fried steak. I mean, he beat him down to the floor, child. It was hard to watch. It was American Horror Story like. David is on the couch. He is scared as hell. He don't know what to do. He's shocked. He's afraid. And David goes over to him and climbs on top of the couch with the hammer and holds him in his arms and said it's gonna be okay. And David at this point is freaked out to the point where he's not even talking. He puts David in the shower, and they both take a shower and washes all the blood off of him and sits him on the side of the bed and says that everything's gonna be okay. And he says, why did he kill Jeff? Andrew is just like, well, you know, I lost control. Basically, this whole time he's trying to intimidate him and make him think that the police, you know, they're homophobic. He pulls out the sex toys that they have, and he's like, you know, they're gonna see this when they come into the apartment. You know, they hate us. They're gonna make us both murderers. We're in your apartment. You the one who went downstairs to the lobby. You know, basically trying to convince him we're in this together type deal, okay? David for one moment does try to call the police, but Andrew quickly pulls that gun on him. He starts tripping, saying that he cannot allow that. The life that he's built, the things that he's done, X, Y, and Z, he cannot allow it. He can't allow it. He can't allow for it to happen. And so David is like, you know what, hey, it's all good. Don't you worry about it. I ain't gonna call the police, okay? I'm still tripping on how you around here killing people. Okay. Like I said, he pulls out the sex toys and, you know, tries to intimidate the boyfriend. It's interesting to me once again that this theme of homophobia is coming up. Andrew has this deep-seated self-hate or issues with him being a gay man because he keeps constantly bringing up society's homophobia and how that's going to affect them, and, you know, how they're going to see them as criminals. They're not going to care what dude have to say. They're not going to believe me if I say you didn't do it. So he's trying to basically get David to convince him to run away with him. Andrew and David go down into the living room, and Andrew starts to clean up the body, roll the body up into a rug, and he asks David to help him roll the body. And once he rolls that body up, it's kind of like, you a part of the crime with me now. And so David had the dog, and he was like, I'm gonna go walk the dog, and that would have been a chance for him to escape. But David was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go with you. Well, why wouldn't you want me to go with you? He was like, well, you know, I thought you would be tired. Do I look tired? Do I look tired? I said, oh, bitch, oh my God. I said, girl, oh my God, you need to just let him go. Please, just go with him. So he go with him down the elevator, and they have another chance. The woman, he could have been like, but he didn't do that. He was just looking crazy at the woman. You know, she said, hey, how y'all doing? You know, and they was looking, Andrew was looking like a psychopath. David was looking really scared, and they went and walked the dog. Oh, the dog did a great job acting. I mean, the dog was whimpering and whatnot the whole time, like doing a real good job, because he was whimpering in the elevator, which made everything so much freakier. And, you know, whew, this show makes me really uncomfortable for some reason. Does it make you guys uncomfortable? It makes me like look at people next to you, because you just never know who around, child. People are crazy. Okay, so when they were walking the dog, Andrew was like formulating this story about how they gonna, you know, tell the police. Like I said, boyfriend is formulating the story, how he gonna tell the police, what they gonna tell him, how they gonna, you know, tell him I was out and tell him this and that and the other. And then he sees some of his coworkers. He abruptly turns around and they go into the apartment. Now the coworkers are knocking on the door. He doesn't come to the door, so they go to get the superintendent. So the superintendent comes up. Now when they open the door, they go into the apartment, and they all find the body that's rolled up on the floor. David and Andrew have gotten into the red Jeep, and they have driven off into the sunset, running away. So the police pull up to the scene. They looking at all the evidence. Once again, the police's preconceived notions about the homosexual men, you know, overshadowed kind of their judgment going on with, you know, how they were conducting the investigation and whatnot. Basically, they just said, oh, okay, it must have been some bad sex going wrong. They like were confused about being in there. They feel like they shouldn't be in there because David was still alive. And then they identified the body as David. They identified the body as Andrew. They had misidentified the body like 2 times. Like, it was a lot of going on. I mean, because, you know, you really think about people and their preconceived notions, their own biases and judgments when they go into it, when they take that into their job and can't look at things objectively for what it is, right? The neighbor does tell them that Andrew was in town for the weekend and he was visiting David, and she said she saw them, but neither one of them looked like they was upset. They was just walking the dog. The police are like, we need to get out the apartment. We need to get a search warrant because David's still alive. And then we flash back to David's childhood with his father. So he was hunting with his father. I'm kind of unsure why they had this whole thing to show us that David was a sweet soul, and, you know, it's not even in his nature maybe to go off with Andrew. But him and his dad went hunting, and, you know, he didn't like it when his dad killed a duck or something like that, and, you know, he was upset about it, and daddy was like, okay, it's cool, well, you know, hunting out for everybody, you know what I'm saying? And that was pretty much it. So then we come back to Andrew and David, and they're, you know, the whole journey with them. I'm just gonna go on with the whole story. They're together at several different points. You know, Andrew is trying to convince him this entire time what he can do, how he can, you know, they're gonna do this, go to Mexico, and they can stay at this hotel, and they can do all of this, and, you know, have a patio view and all of this different type of stuff. They get to this roadside bar, and David and Andrew sits down, and David goes to the bathroom. At this point, there's someone singing, and Andrew starts to cry because I'm thinking at this moment that he kind of let go a little bit, and if David would have run away, for that moment he was realizing there's a possibility that David might not come back. He was trying to like low-key spare his life a little bit. David went into the bathroom, he balled up his fist, he punched out the window, but instead of running, he came back because he started thinking about the shame that it would bring down on his family. His family's from a small town, and how that would affect his father's business, and, you know, the things they would say about him. So that internalized, like I said, that internalized homophobia, that self-hate you have for your your son. You know, all those things come into play, and so he decided to go back. And so Andrew, when he came back, Andrew was so excited. He was so happy. He was holding his hand so much, because I'm thinking in Andrew's mind, he's saying, okay, now you've made a choice to come back. Now what I did worked. My manipulation basically worked, you know, because at that moment Andrew was crying because he was realizing, I'm all alone, I have no one. David, you know, is probably not gonna come back from that bathroom, and I'm probably not gonna chase him, or if I do chase him, I'm gonna have to kill him, you know what I'm saying? But then David comes back, so that's that whole thing. So after that, they're walking out somewhere, and I don't know if this was before or after, but at some point Andrew is about to kill this woman in the car, because they walk by the car and he's like, she recognized me, she knows who I am. And David is like, what are you talking about? She don't know you, nobody was looking at you, what are you talking about? She was looking at me like she hated me, she knows who I am, she knows who I am, da da da. David starts to put 1, 2, and 3 together. Then we go back to the police. The police are with the father of David, and they're telling him, this is what happened with your son, X, Y, and Z. Dad is like, my son did not do this, he has nothing to do with this, this is not his nature. And they go on to say, well, you don't know everything about your son, basically implying that, you know, you don't know your son is gay. But later on we flash to see when David came out to his father, and his father, although he was like, you know what I believe, you know what's in that book, okay, you know all of that stuff, but you know I love you more than I could, you know, my own life. That's the most important thing to me, or whatever. So like, he was understanding, you know, to a certain point. So he did know about his son and what his son had been doing. And I think in real life I read that he was openly gay man. I'm not sure if he was open with everybody, but for the most part he was an openly gay man, okay? So David does tell him that, you know, we're not, you know, finally gets upset enough with Andrew and tells him that we're not gonna be together no more, you know, it's over with. He says, you planned this whole thing, that's why you had me go down there, that's why you had me bring him up, because you wanted me to see it. You planned it so it could be this, oh, we're in it together type shit, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like you lost control or whatever. So like, he's putting all these things together, because at one point they were talking about how they met each other, and he was talking about how Andrew was so high society and this man is not gonna notice me and all these different things, and he's just like, but it was all a lie. So you worked for anything in your life ever, and all this, that, and the other. So he chopping him up, and the whole time I'm thinking like, he gonna kill your ass. Like, we know he's gonna be dead by the end. We're just waiting to see how he gonna die. But basically it's like, why would you chop somebody up and you know they could kill your ass? They're riding in the car together, and he's like, pull over, pull over. So he snatched the car, you know, they got the wheel going back and forth, child, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So they finally pull over, he hop out the car, Andrew had him on his knees with the gun, like, you know, why couldn't you just run away with me? He like, no, 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 you know, don't do it, and all of this. And he's like, explain to me why you want a life with me. And so David goes on and on about how they're gonna do this Mexico, they're gonna learn Spanish, and they're gonna live here, they're gonna find somewhere to do, you know, all this stuff about how they're gonna have this wonderful life and everything's gonna be great. Andrew's like, oh, you know, it would have been great, it would have been good. David gets up and he starts running away, and Andrew shoots him in the back, and we see David make it into the house, closing the door, seeing his dad with a cup of tea, and they sit down, you know. But in real life he shot him in the back and then went back over his head and shot him in the head. Andrew then lays down with the body, which is like, my God, if that ain't the talented Mr. Ripley. That was like a callback to the talented Mr. Ripley. That's one of my favorite movies, y'all. That movie is so freaky. I think that's one of the reasons I like this show, because it's like low-key disturbing, okay? Lays down with the body for a little while, then he gets up in his truck, honey, and he rolls. The next place he is going to is Chicago to kill some more people. He was doing the absolute most. So I thought this episode was very good. Like I said, I really believe that this whole episode, Ryan Murphy is trying to give us a commentary on how shame and how homophobia and people suppressing who they are and their desires and what they want can really affect more than just them. It affects other people. I also think that it's interesting about the mental health issues that Cunanan obviously has serious mental health issues that have never been addressed. He is pretty much like a psychopath, and even in that moment when he was crying, I did not feel bad for him, y'all. I had no sympathy for him whatsoever, because even if he had a jack, he just seems like a person who does not care about other people. Like, it's nothing that you can do. You know, I hate to say some people are born bad, but if you're a sociopath, you don't have any feelings and you can't make connections with other people. I feel like at some point, if they would have went to Mexico, he would have ended up killing him anyway, because that's how sociopaths are. If you once you are a disservice to them, they have no need for you. So that's how I feel about Andrew. I have no sympathy for him. I feel sorry for him in that he was so smart, he was so intelligent, and maybe, you know, in a parallel dimension, if he had used his powers for the good, he could be a great man. He is so he's consumed with the fact that he does not have power, that he murders everyone that has any type of power that's greater than his over his life, just because he was sleeping with his man. Now don't get me wrong, it's wrong to be cheating, but it's also wrong to be bashing people in the head with a hammer. Do you feel what I'm trying to say? Yeah, walk with me here. I feel like, yeah, Andrew murders anybody who has something that he wants, you know what I'm saying? And then I think that David and, you know, other people, Versace, were like ways into these lives that maybe he wanted for himself for real, and once they close their door and they back on him, it kind of shut him out. He goes crazy and he kills them. But then you have senseless murders, like when he murdered the old man. Those were just a practical murder. So it just makes me think this man is just a sociopath. He really don't have feelings, so that's why I don't really have any feelings for him. I would love to hear what you thought about this episode. Next week I see we're gonna be back to Versace. So I'm excited about it. I want to hear your thoughts. Leave your comments below. My information is in the description box below. What's popping this week? Y'all, it's about to be on point, because child, it's going down this week, all the drama. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this video with your friends. I will holler at y'all next week. Alright, peace.